Welcome back to the Coaching Clubhouse with Adrian Last.
Hello and welcome back into the Coaching Clubhouse, where we explore ideas, stories and practices that shape how we coach. And today we're taking the conversation outside. This episode is released alongside Nature Connected Coaching Live at Henley Business School, an immersive outdoor coaching experience that's growing into a global movement. And I'm joined by somebody that's right at the heart of it. Paul Jefferies is a master executive and team coach, business transformation consultant, and co-founder of Nature Connected Coaching Live. He spent over 30 years in industry before bringing together his passion for people development and the natural world. So today we're exploring what happens when coaching meets nature and what becomes possible when we step outside the room. Paul, thank you for joining me. Welcome into the Coaching Clubhouse.
Thank you very much, Adrian. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
And I feel like I've got a fellow podcast pro here with me, so it's really good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've done a few of these in my time. So I think we're initially with Coaching Outdoors with Anna Marie and Alex. So I think we ended up doing about 90 episodes.
Did you? Wow.
With that and Nature Connected Coaching, our new podcast. We've got a few of those done already as well. So we've got more planned. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yes, I'm familiar with this.
You're already out there, so yeah, you've got a head start on me anyway. But look, Paul, I'd love to start with your story. Let's get right back to the start. What's your personal connection to nature, and how did it shape the work you're doing today?
Thank you. It's a lovely question. First of all, Adrian, I'm a child of the 70s, so I was born and brought up around, I guess people would call it the foot of the Cotswolds. So just to help our listeners and viewers, Malmesbury, Tetbury, sort of in that North Wiltshire. And, you know, the truth is my mum, I was born to a blind mum, and I'm the eldest. And it was a wonderful upbringing. Sadly, mum's passed away now, but I had a brilliant childhood in the Cotswolds on that edge there. Took a lot of responsibility when I was younger, being the eldest. Wanted to make sure that I looked after my mum, like all good boys do. Nice. And but ultimately, nature and the outdoors was freedom. That's when mum was okay. I was out in the fields. I was out with my friends, building dens, just exploring, having the best time. So for me, nature has always been an exciting, explorative place of freedom, of expanse. And I guess I've always had this super positive relationship with nature. And I see it as a place of possibility and opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. And was there a moment, Paul, when you realized that, I guess nature wasn't just about, your sort of the way you grew up and something that you enjoyed, but it's actually, when did the connection come in with coaching and something you actively wanted to bring into that world?
Yeah, so that's, again, we leap almost, Adrian, like 30 odd years, etc., for the epiphany of what happened. Really, there was it was towards in 2018, etc. I suffered some burnout, and there may be many listeners, business people. I had over 30 odd years in corporate world, in manufacturing, operational management, working with some amazing companies, PepsiCo, Kimberly-Clark, a lot of paper and packaging and pharmaceutical. And but I got to the point where I was a little bit of a hamster wheel, working along hours, lots of days. And I took some time out. I burnt out. I was hospitalized, and I was diagnosed with hemiplegic migraines. It's presents initially as like a TIA type stroke. It's not, but you get paralyzed down your left side in my case, and the migraines are incredibly debilitating. It's really, and it was diagnosed as stress, my work balance. And I was advised to probably change my career and do something.
Okay.
I had always led teams with coaching in mind. I've always been a coach who was working as a leader and using coaching technique, maybe not even realizing it, if I'm being really honest, but doing it naturally.
Yeah.
And the moment of nature enters, I decided to leave due to some restructuring. I took the opportunity to leave my employer, and I set up what effectively is my coaching business. And that was it was 8 years ago.
Okay.
And I did Ikigai. How nature comes in, I wrote down Ikigai to find purpose in my life. And I'm a real believer in that process and that tool. And I came up with people and nature and business as being, how can I combine these three? I've always loved nature, being outdoors, and I could see the power of it for me restoratively.
Yeah.
And I've always worked with people, and I love business. And effectively, Pebble was born out of, well, let's just take teams and people outdoors, and let's start coaching with individual leaders, CEOs, and then latterly teams. And I realized that nature has just so much to offer in terms of systemic thinking and so on. And I'm sure we can unpack that in a minute. But yeah, so that was the moment for me.
Okay.
And I've never looked back. I have had 8 years of just some of the best years of my career. Love it.
It must have been a real shift for you in terms of, and certainly using your words, being hospitalized with what you were going through at the time. And now this sort of period of the last 8 years, do you kind of compare the two and sort of go, right, okay, this is transformative and it's life-changing?
All of those words, Adrian, I feel blessed.
Yeah.
I feel that, sometimes almost like, oh gosh, could I have not discovered this earlier? But I'm a believer that we're on time and place happens for reasons. And we may never know the rhyme and reason for why certain things happen. But I'm sure many of our listeners and viewers will identify that certain things happen at times when you need it most. But I look back and it's been transformative. I've then really kind of got into this world of nature connected coaching and nature-based coaching. And, I'd like to think, along with a number of some other really dear colleagues and friends, that we're really leading at the vanguard of something.
Yeah, for sure. And when you first started coaching with Pebble, did you start then with the outdoor and nature coaching?
Yeah.
That was part of the proposition, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I actually was at Henley Business School doing my PC, my professional accreditation coaching. I went back to Henley. I have an MBA from Henley, which was from previously earlier in the noughties. And I went back to Henley. I've always had a very close affinity with Henley. And I walked up to Professor Jonathan Passmore, who many of our listeners will know. And I said, I'm going to work outdoors. And he said, are you really? and I said, who do you know? Who could I write to? Who could I read? And he was very kind and generous. And he's, I'm pleased to say, a good friend. And he gave me some names and he gave me some articles, as only Jonathan can.
Yeah.
And I set off into this world of discovery, and it's just been an incredible journey.
Incredible. What an amazing story. And I'm really keen, Paul, to just unpack a little bit more for our listeners who may not be familiar with coaching outdoors and nature. Just to unpack that a little bit. So when you talk about kind of coaching in nature, just tell us a bit more about that. How do the sessions work? What's different, I guess, to what we would typically think as coaching? Yeah,
great. No, that's a great question. And gosh, I can unpack it. I'm going to try and keep that, and we'll keep going on.
We've
really,
got hours, so we can.
Yeah, let's look at three things we want to say a little bit. Is I'm always struck, Adrian, by when we're talking, particularly within the business world, how many people will go to a window when they are looking, maybe in a traditional coaching sense. Maybe we're in a room, a boardroom, a window, and people may venture to the window, look out the window with curiosity, maybe looking for something, some inspiration, something. Really what we're trying to do, and it's this beautiful image I'm conjuring, is we're inviting people to walk through the window, through the door, take that coaching conversation out into a much more expansive space, a much more creative space. And if I can just unpack that a little bit more, we talk a lot here in terms of Nature Connected around in, with, and for nature. Now, you can do those three areas. We can work in nature, and we've got that very restorative space. It's regulatory, it feels relaxing. And so we could just be held, if we maybe use that term, held gently and have a coaching conversation in nature. And that could be very gentle, very restorative. We could work with nature, and maybe we'll pick this up as we go through, is we're using this idea as a co-coach, and maybe we'll pick up on that in a minute, but nature is being an active partner here. And then there's the for nature. We may bring in elements of climate consciousness around encouraging teams or leaders or founders or owners to perhaps, how are we symbiotically working with nature, for nature, and we're doing it in a regenerative, reciprocal way. So those three images that might be useful for the viewers to sort of think. So you think about it, if you're looking at this as a modality, it's a really interesting way to look at those three and what you may want to do. But look, in essence, otherwise we're working embodied. And I say we're more embodied here because now the senses are stimulated outdoors. I can smell, I can see, I can hear, I can intuitively feel. And so we've got a lot more embodied. It's more relaxed, Adrian, because we're side by side. We're not having necessarily this coaching conversation across a table or two chairs sort of juxtaposition. And we see people becoming a lot more, expansive in their thoughts. It's creative and it's experiential. It's a very creative space. You can do some amazing things with leaves and branches or vistas or what have you. So it really, we're just changing the box that coaching is being conducted with. And it's a much more expansive, creative, kind of exciting box. And yes, when you get into the subtlety, we need to understand what the coachee may need from that box. Some people, and we're getting into some detail, but they might want an expansive space or a more forest, wood, but that's you as a coach working with your coachee to find what that might be.
I really get that, because I mean, a lot of us clearly work in, if we're not working at home in a room, we're working in the office somewhere, and often, we'll do coaching sessions either online or we'll do them, in person. Often is in a room, and we all know actually that even if I move outside of here this afternoon when we're recording, it's going to make me feel different. So
absolutely,
get what's going on here. Actually, that there is something different, isn't there, to being outside in the fresh air amongst nature. And I'm sure, growing up in that, it's something that's deep inside of you. So you must see some really incredible results.
You do, and it's very eco-somatic in the sense we're eco outside, and it's somatic because it's mind and body working in unison. We're walking, and so you absolutely, you see, pace can change. Somebody's pace quickens up when they're excited. Maybe it slows down when they're becoming a little heavy with thought or reflection. And part of working outdoors as a coach is being very present. I mean, learning to notice. Of course, we notice as a coach, but outdoors it's a dynamic environment. There's a lot going on, but you're not only looking at your coachee, but you're maybe reading the situation, noticing even in yourself that, the pace has slowed down, or we've quickened up, or we've gone up a hill, or whatever that might be. So it is very, and when you ask people, when do you remember having some of your best conversations with friends or family? Invariably, I would challenge our listeners and viewers, it's when you're walking. Maybe you've gone out for a chat with your dad, maybe your mum, the kids. Some of the best conversations can be, and sometimes people talk about it in a car. You're side by side in a car with your teenage kids, and so or even walking the dog. Teenage. Suddenly, those environments, people are a little bit more inclined, and they begin to open up.
Just now, you were talking about nature as a co-coach. What does that look like in a session? Just talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, so really what we're doing as a co-coach, we are now inviting nature into the conversation. And so this is done through, first of all, it could be biomimicry. And biomimicry really means we're learning from nature and taking learning from living systems. So we might notice the seasons. And we're just in early spring, and it's a wonderful season to be walking and going out with teams or individuals coaching. So I might invite the coachee to think about spring and what is springing for them in business or within their personal life. What do they hope to grow through the summer season and maybe harvest through the autumn? And then maybe if it's a winter walk, we might talk about what do we need to restore, restorative, maybe bring into the storage, replenish ourselves ready for the next spring. And you can have these wonderful metaphors, Adrian, with business around, going through this cyclical nature. So instead of talking about budgets in the autumn, which is when lots of people set their budgets, I might talk about we're in the autumn. What have we harvested? What have we learned from this year? And maybe what might we take through the winter to build and develop and store ready for our next projects in the new year? And so we're using that sort of metaphor. I had a wonderful conversation a few years back with a CEO, and we walked up a hill, but it kept going up and then it plateaued and then it went up. And suddenly I noticed his conversations were almost mimicking the hill. And when we looked back at the top, we had a conversation about how his conversation had developed going up this hill. And he had a real aha moment of, my gosh, I didn't notice that, but I can see what you mean. And we then unpacked that reflection. So it's that sort of noticing, it's using the observing and the sort of all the lessons, beehives, ant hills, we've got composting, we've got trees and leaves die, we replenish. We can talk about all those wonderful living systems within a business context.
So powerful. Yeah, I love the story that you told there. You also do a lot of teamwork. We were talking about this off air before we started.
Yeah.
When with teams, how does being outdoors shift how teams, I guess, see themselves and their relationships? Do you see a real kind of impact there too?
Yeah, hugely, Adrian. And ultimately, this is one of my biggest areas where I work in now. Most of my work outdoors is team coaching outdoors, and what we're seeing is it's this systemic nature. So we're really inviting teams, and it's very powerful with teams when we invite them to engage with the system. Nature is part of us, and we're part of it. That's a really important message that I tried to get over. And rather than living in their hermetically sealed factory or boardroom, let's go out. And I do a lot of constellation work when I'm outdoors with teams, so I will set them into constellations, nature constellations. We might explore different concepts that stakeholders, and we actually maybe use a tree as a member of the board, or we might put a twig or a rock as a member of a stakeholder, and we start to explore that whole relationship through nature constellations and constellation work. So it's also for teams, it's a shared experience. When we take a team outdoors, and bear in mind, I'm doing this over a period of a year, various interventions, workshops, team sessions. The teams share, they have that shared experience. We see synchronicity. We set them off on paired walks, solo walks, sometimes triads, where two are talking and one's listening and then feeds back. And we set them experiential exercises to do.
Okay.
I don't know how many people know force field, and I've even got teams to build a force field analysis using twigs and rocks and how they can try to change the argument. And the bigger the rock or the bigger the leaf, the more that's pushing the argument that way. Or so you can get super creative outdoors with this. And I would invite definitely our listeners and viewers to really have a think. It's a very experiential, exciting space to work in when you're with teams in this area.
I might actually take this away for sure with my team.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. And and it's as much for you as a coach. You're being present. I feel alive when we talk about being connection as a coach and connected and being present. I never feel more present than always when I'm outdoors. As a coach, I feel I'm there with the team and we're experiencing whatever that wider system is. It's a really, really great experience. And I've had many. Another one was in an orangery. I was working in an orangery with a team, and an onion was on a table drying out, ready to be hung. And the marketing director in this particular instance, I noticed he'd spotted these onions, and he picked one up and he was looking at it. And I said, what are you thinking? I see you looking at the onion. And he had this beautiful conversation about the layers of the onion being the layers of marketing for this organization. And we literally peeled, metaphorically, this onion back to the core. And the core was all about data for them. The quality of data, how that data is used, how that data goes across the whole of the organization systemically. And that whole conversation with the whole of that team came from sitting in an orangery with an onion.
It's fascinating.
It was a great conversation.
Now, Paul, let's get into Nature Connected Coaching Live. It's coming up from the 17th to the 19th of June. It's in its third year. I hear it's growing year on year. What can delegates expect if they come along?
Yeah, it absolutely. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, it's growing. We're at Henley Business School is the venue, and we have what are we now? 28 facilitators running experiential workshops in person. So you can come along for a 2.5 day ticket, or you can come for a 1 day. Many of the workshops are repeated on both of those days.
Okay.
And we have Professor Jonathan Passmore as one of our keynotes. We have very exciting Joao, who is the chief executive of Walking Mentorship, who runs pilgrimages around Europe. He's another keynote speaker.
Okay.
We have people working outdoors with art, running workshops, ecosomatic. We've got urban coaching. So let's just also remind ourselves that many people live in a city environment, and what one person's nature is not the same as another person's. And so we have people who are now really working in this urban nature, so working within the city environment, the cityscape. We've got people running workshops on that. We've got people doing serious nature play. We've got mindfulness. We've got people talking about equine facilitated coaching, working with horses and also working with dogs and animals. Honestly, the sky's the limit. This area is really growing. We're seeing more and more science and research back up this modality of working in nature-based and nature-connected. And just people are getting more and more. It just is growing. It seems as though, Adrian, it's become less fringe, and it's becoming now, even in my time of starting this back many years ago, it's becoming a bit more accepted, more mainstream, and we're seeing more and more publications, research. And I would encourage, we need lots more research, lots more people to get involved, but it's definitely getting and growing in its popularity.
It's brilliant. It's really, really good. And presumably these sorts of events are now starting to happen elsewhere. Would that be right?
Yeah, it's fair to say. I mean, the AC with a good friend of mine, Anna Marie, and the Association of Coaching ran an online event back in October last year.
Okay.
We've just done some stuff with the ICF around team coaching outdoors. Sally Jackson and some of her team in the ICF chapter organized that. So you are right. I'm never, in the last 2 to 3 years, it's really, really growing. And that's really why I started Nature Connected Coaching and the event. Yeah. We're deliberately bringing people together and trying to sort of, get people to kind of learn together, network. And honestly, some of the collaborations that have come out of the event are still running today. Very, very, they're thriving. That and we're proud to say they met at a Nature Connected coaching event. So if you want to learn more about this and you want to network and meet people, Nature Connected Coaching, we'll do it. We could always give you the links and everything at the end. But come along, meet us, come and talk to us. We're a generous group. We just want to teach and help people to learn. And that's definitely comes from me. Anybody can contact me and I will help whoever I can, when I can, to, get into this and understand it, because I just love it and I'm passionate about it. And that's kind of really where the event came from.
Yeah. I suppose, to a certain extent, you've covered this question, but there's a more general question. If people are not able to come to the event itself, and coaches are listening to this, or even coaching clients actually who want to get into coaching outdoors and with nature, where do they start? Where do coaches start? Where do coachees start with that?
It's a great question. I mean, look, first of all, there's a couple of things. First of all, I would say there's Leslie Roberts' book. Okay. Coaching Outdoors. Wonderful, late Leslie. You can find that. And my good colleagues, Jonathan just wrote, and Ellie Lloyd-Jones, this book here. Very practical, very pragmatic book. There are a few courses available with Leslie, and James Farrell is running Nature Based Academy here in the UK. Have a look at their websites. And Lizzie, if you're into blue health, Lizzie Lalabaster runs a lovely training course down in Perranporth, on the beach. But I would encourage you, step outside, take your coaching conversation. Yes, there are a few things to be mindful of around, look at the weather, plan your route, maybe just take a look at, make sure health and safety, the route, where you're taking people, but step outside, do that little bit of risk assessment, whatever. But honestly, you'll notice, that difference in that conversation. And, contact me. There's lots of ways to do that. So there's some reading, training courses if you're more serious, or, take a step outside and, do that and have a go and see what you feel. And if you like it, then, you can follow up on it.
Excellent. And what's your hope, Paul, then for the future? This thing is growing and growing, right? So what do you hope for the coming sort of 5 and 10 years in terms of nature connected coaching?
I think it's just an amazing, beautiful space. And for me, when we bring coaching into this beautiful space, it's really amazing. We can see some incredible things. I would like to be a catalyst and a community builder for this modality. That's what we're aiming to do. We've already got some discussions going. We're taking nature connected coaching to Europe. So we're going to be having an event in person. We're having conversations with the USA and the States to take it over to across the pond and have an in-person. There is a growing interest across in America, a couple of pockets. So the aim is to take in-person events across the world, develop the community. And for me, I will carry on doing my practice, but I want to be a catalyst, a community builder, and just try to help, build that knowledge. And we have a book, myself with Jonathan Parsons, coming out in June, called the Nature Coach's Handbook. And that's the first sort of semi-academic book, which is on nature connected coaching, coming out in June. So there's some great stuff going on in this space at the moment. It's really exciting.
Really exciting. Fantastic. This has been such a great conversation, Paul. Thank you so much. And Nature Connected Coaching Live coming up 17th to the 19th of June. I'll put the details in the show notes and in the promotion links for this podcast, and absolutely would urge listeners and viewers to get along and attend and just try it out.
Definitely. Yes. And if anybody's unsure, best way to get hold of me is on LinkedIn. Just send me an invite, send me a message, and I will come back to you, and happy to help anybody in any way. Or I can give you more details for the events or books or whatever.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining me today. It's been an enlightening and fascinating conversation.
Oh, and Adrian, thank you. So beautiful questions. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The only regret I've got is that I should have come to you, of course, and we should have done this outside.
Absolutely. But Let's do that. We could do another one of those, and we can actually do it outdoors and do something. Maybe we'll do that. That's a proper challenge. I think we should do that.
Yeah. The only problem is I've got quite a lot of equipment here. I don't know if I can find an easy way of carrying all of that. But
we can get a team. We'll have a team with us.
Yeah, we have a team. Great. That sounds good. All right. Take care. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you so much, Adrian. That's wonderful. Thank you.
So as we wrap up today's conversation, there's a simple idea that really stands out, that coaching doesn't have to happen within four walls. Sometimes changing the space changes the conversation, and maybe even changes us. Thanks again to Paul for sharing his experience and perspective, and to you for listening. If this has sparked your curiosity, maybe your next conversation doesn't need a room, it just needs a different setting. You'll find all the details that we spoke about today in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the series, and I'll see you very soon.
The Coaching Clubhouse is produced by Adrian Last Coaching. Discover more on the website at adrianlast.co.uk.